There is such a benevolence in the way there is constantly this teaching, this showing the way, this offering. So yesterday morning, Hanuman spoke about this recognition that in the face of what looked to be this incredible horror, the gift, and what the gift was that taking care of his children was an enabling. And freeing lied in letting them take care of themselves. This is completely identical with your relationship with what is called the ego. There is an ingrained belief that there is someone, you, who needs to take care of this separate thing, protect it, control its environment, run after what it craves, keep away what it fears. And what occurs is a lifetime of enabling. The doorway lies in simply leaving it alone. So long as this enabling continues, the experience will be that it is real, that it is you. You can hear the teachings over and over again and have a million openings and seeings that it is not really me. Yet until you are ready to let it go, you remain bound. But it is not only a simple momentary, oh yes. There is this deep, ingrained addiction. It is the strongest addiction. You cannot be addicted to anything if you are not addicted to the ego. And the addiction is driven by this conditioned imprints, fears, and desires. And even the desires, when you really look and see, are driven by fear. It is never comfortable. It is never safe. No matter what happens, the experience of the separate one will never feel safe. And the story is, do this and do that and do this and do that, and that will create safety. But all it does is feed the monster. At a certain point, there is a readiness to be done with it. Not out of anger. If it is out of anger, it is actually being driven by the monster. There, in fact, is this incredible compassion. There is the recognition of the burden that is carried. There is a recognition of the beauty, the immaculate beauty that is all there is when that habit, that addiction is not being fed. What is required to break the addiction? It must be the most important thing. Sounds very simple, but egoic desires and egoic fears can be so furious. If it is the most important thing, it is finished. If it is not the most important thing, there must still be suffering. How do you break the addiction? Every time this hypnosis comes up, this word I, it becomes a reminder to look and see what it is. Instead of feeding something that is not there, but seems there so long as it is being fed. What feeds it? Your attention. Everything is around this hypnosis. I feel good, I feel bad, I had a good meditation, I am hungry, I'm going to take a walk, I'm working to become free. What is it? It is an assumption. And then this conditioned story, endless conditioned story, wraps around it. It is to look and see what this I is free of assuming anything. This world has a beautiful role. It will bring up every latent tendency to latch on to conditioning, to follow conditioned desire, which in truth is driven by conditioned fear, to attempt to control for its conditioned need for safety, which is driven by this constant sense of being unsafe. Yet there is something that is more safe than anything anyone has ever known. So this conditioned imprint goes after it. That's how it starts. It's going after it because I want to feel good. When a 2-year-old child wants something that is not good for him or her, and it is not offered, very typically they will scream, temper tantrums. If the screaming happens and then you give in, there is the recognition of this power. You are feeding the monster. If the parent is reasonable and strong out of the love for the child, they will bear the screaming and then it will pass. If they cannot bear it because they are more concerned with their own sense of comfort, then they feed something that is carried on by that being their whole life. They hand over their own misery. True love is unmoving. It receives everything. But remains itself still. In its stillness, the habit of following what is constantly moving and screaming and moaning is released. The addiction is released. And every time it is latched onto, the possibility is to look to see what is the I. What is it that craves instead of following the craving? What is it that can be harmed instead of following the protective habiting? What is it that makes up words like habiting? On the one hand, there is the grace of the offering of this deeper and deeper taste of the beauty, and if a fraction of it has been tasted, there is nothing but devotion to that, for that. On the other hand, there is this vigilance, this fortitude to break the addictive habit. In every second, in every circumstance. Until it becomes automatic. No longer requires any mental involvement. That's what happens. It's what happens in dedication to anything, in dedication to playing an instrument. In the beginning it is all mental, but then when the music is really happening, the mind is freed. It's automatic, and it flows like music. In this particular type of dedication, this vigilance, this ego has this setup. It tells you you must be the master before you even begin. And every time there is this forgetting, there is the following of a story of somebody failing. It is a joke. It is so obvious. It is part of a program. If it is bought, what it causes is a falling away from the work. But it is just part of the conditioning. What is this I? Can you find it? What happens when you look? And then who is it that is looking anyway? And then what remains? every time this word arises, either on the tongue or in the mind, it is an offer to look. It is such grace to get to a mature enough place to see that the I, the experience of the separate one, will never be satisfied. Maybe for a moment, but its survival is based on fear and dissatisfaction. It does not have to be your issue. The truth is, it's not. But you must be a warrior and a lover.